is how we brew it. This is how we brew it. Oh, oh, oh. Oh, oh, oh. I don't know how to run. This is how we brew it. I don't know how to do this. We're making it up as we go, everyone.
Homebrew is where the heart is. It's where dungeon masters, murder hobos, dice goblins, and chaos gremlins come together to turn big ideas into unforgettable adventures. So how do you take that spark, a setting, a villain, a mechanic, and turn it into something that actually works at the table? Your table. That's simple. We brew it. We've got 6 flavorful categories to walk through designed to help you build campaigns that capture the feel of your favorite worlds and IPs. Today, we're starting with Solo Leveling. Ooh. All right. And we're going to go through a couple categories today. That's B, base build. What are the core components? R, resonance and vibe. This is where we make our poetic hearts sing, tone, theme, details. E, extra froth. What makes this wildly fun? W, weird for us. That's strange little twist you'll never find on D&D Beyond. And I, inciting quest. Every good campaign needs a reason to leave home. And T, or threat level. Let's talk danger. Who or what is the big bad, and what's their challenge rating, narratively and mechanically? So, Taylor, this is a thing that you have not seen. Is that correct? So that means we're going to play our game of you tell me, with no context, what you think Solo Leveling is about.
Yeah, and then, but here's the thing. I cheated, and I watched a 10-minute recap of the first season. So I only know the first season, and I probably only know the bullet points. But, okay, here we go. You got to rate me out of 10, yeah? Here we go. Okay. So, Solo Leveling, from what I remember, is about this world in which there are monster hunters who fight monsters from dungeons. And basically, humans can't do anything against these dungeons or against these monsters, but these monster hunters have the power to actually fight them. The magic that monster hunters have access to, or the powers that they have, are something that awaken. And once they awaken, you are kind of like set at the level at which your powers are. They do not get any better historically. However, there is one person, the protagonist, the main character, who for some reason, after finding a secret dungeon, he fights this very scary monster. His powers awaken, I think, and he is able to not only fight monsters as a monster hunter, but actually get better and grow. So very video game-esque. The monster hunter, I guess, guild that he's a part of, because there are 5 guilds. That's something I remember. I think whatever guild he's part of, is somebody who's in charge. They give him basically daily quests and tasks to help him get to track his improvement and see how he gets better. But also they provide him with gifts and fun little things, and also if he completes all his quests, it restores him to perfect health. And also he's, I guess, in it for his mom who's in the hospital and gonna die, I guess. Well, that seemed like such a random thing that I didn't learn until halfway through the recap. But anyway, yeah, and then there's a monster at the end of season. I don't know. I only got through season 1 recap, so there's some big plot they figure out about the monsters from the beginning are at the end, and maybe this whole thing was planned by somebody. It's an inside job. I don't know. It's dramatic. But I got the solo leveling part right. The literal solo leveling
You
part.
You did. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that I would give that a 9, because you didn't really understand hey, here's what the villain is doing, and here they're evil. To be fair, solo leveling is 60% awesome animation and visuals, and 30% man, it'd be cool to be able to be that person, and 10% plot.
Mm-hmm.
Well, with that recap, we can kind of start building what we would actually want to do here. So let's start with the first category, B, for base build. what are the essential components for building solo leveling here, Taylor?
I mean, you gotta have monsters. Gotta have monsters. Gotta have monster hunters. I think, monster hunter, there are like a couple classes out there that I think it's one class technically that already exists from some like D&D offshoot or some other system that someone tried to create for D&D that has monster hunters as a class. But I would say like a monster hunter class, whether you brew it yourself or use that one, is super essential,
Yeah, so definitely you want monsters and you want them to be interesting. Luckily for you, if you or for us, if we just use the D&D monster manual, there's a lot of great monsters there. I think how I would want to modify them for interest is oftentimes monsters on purpose don't have a lot of weaknesses or vulnerabilities or things to learn about them that can help you in a fight, and or the monster is intended to be fought by a larger party. And if you were to do a solo leveling thing, you may or may not have only like 1 or 2 players because, solo leveling. It's like, it'd be like, it's not duo leveling, it's not 4-person leveling, it's only 1-person leveling.
Yeah.
And so that also gets another problem. But anyway, so like you may want to set it for a different style of fight, because also like there's a lot of fights and there's a lot of monster hunting, and you may want to create some interest through like, hey, this one has a particular weakness, or this one is immune to all your normal strategies because you've been spamming this one strategy, as you should, because that's how video games work, etc. I think that's one important piece, and then the other part would be, you'd want to figure out, okay, but is it just the party that's the only people who can level up and everyone else is static? Is it one person? Like, how would you run that?
I have an interesting suggestion. So This is something that I was actually very excited about with the idea of solo leveling. I think it could go one or two ways. And this might jump in to some of our other categories in Brew It, but someone has to be leveling outside of everybody else. Like there has to be like the consensus of people in this world would have to be static. And like either the party levels or like there's one person. I think this is something that could be like a one-on-one kind of D&D situation. If you like wanted to run a campaign with like one dungeon master and one player.
One of my favorite ways to play Dungeons and Dragons.
Exactly. However, and like you said, you could do where the party levels up and nobody else does. That is interesting. Something that I also found fascinating was, what if the bad guy, or at least the person you're going against, or like maybe the big bad at the end may not be, but at least the initial bad guy is the solo leveler and the party is static. And they're on a journey not only to figure out why he can level up, but how they maybe can get it too.
Oh, that's great, Taylor. I'm so excited about that.
Yeah.
That's so much fun. Okay, so if that's the case, then we already have our primary antagonist and we kind of have an inciting incident, which is some of our later stuff. The inciting quest of how does this thing get in motion is the party figures out that somebody can level up and get stronger, and they're like, what? And they're going to try and figure it all out. And that would be an interesting plot all of itself. As the rumor starts to spread that this person can do this, right? Everybody else is like, this is crazy. And they start trying to hunt down this person and trying to figuring out how it works. And then eventually there's the whole big bad, the dude with the big crazy anime like teeth and everything. The villain is very like original Solo. It was very bleach coated. I love bleach.
Yes.
Anyway, this would imply as well, for the sake of like fun, I feel like the party / the whoever's in your party at your table, it would be really lame to be stuck at level 1 and not be able to improve. What level would we start them at? I would start them at least at level 3, so they get their archetype, because then they're locked in already, and everybody should start at least at least a lot of people should start at level 3 in the world, because that's more interesting and it locks them in. I could see arguments to starting at level 2, because then you are stuck right before you lock in, and then you level up and suddenly you gain new powers. But I don't think that makes that big of a difference. I think it's more complicated than it's worth. And I would not go past level 12 because D&D is great. There's a reason Baldur's Gate 3, it goes from, up to level 12.
Right. I would agree with you. My initial thought was level 6.
Yeah.
Because like I only recently have heard of the thing of like epic level 6. Like that's a thing that like people do.
Yep.
So I would, to your point, I would agree. Nothing below 3, 4, 5, or 6 would be beautiful. Because you still have like you said, you shouldn't go past 12. So if you start at 6, you still have room. And it also makes leveling up, because it's a world, it's a game in which leveling is so like foreign. I think even if it was at level 6, not being able to level up so much and making level up like the event of leveling up being so like rewarding, and only having 6 places to go is super exciting. And can be a story beat in its own,
Because this is a lit RPG, like a literature RPG, and it's a thing designed around a video game like concept, and you get a system that says, hey, do a daily quest to improve your strength or whatever, right? And like I would also I would have these players like track experience as opposed to milestones, but like the GM tightly controls the experience in a way that's like you can't just spam XYZ, right? To do it, you have to go through the plot, otherwise you may not get to the plot at all. But like you have to give out the experience rewards in a way. So you might use, instead of like when people say milestone leveling in D&D, sometimes that just means you accomplish the plot and you're like, yay, you level up. It's like, I would not do that. I would give a modified experience system that says, hey, you've accomplished a major task. Here's 1 experience point or milestone, right? And then you need 8 milestones to level up or you need 6 milestones to level 7 or 7 for level 8 or whatever, so that you can kind of make it simpler to manage, because experience is generally relatively complicated to manage. I mean, if you want to do it, go for it. But I would recommend a simplified version. And that way also people know that like I cleared this dungeon so I get a milestone. But like me hacking at goblins in a dungeon for 3 hours is not going to get me a milestone. And that would allow for that sense of progression. And even some of the daily quests like would be, hey, like I'm going to do some daily quests to like eventually earn a milestone, but it'll take a while of me doing daily quests, because it's a big part of it. Is like the reason this character has the ability, the main character has the ability to grow, is partially because like he can gamify all of the little parts of his life, and that's his real power. So you'd want to have like the gamified elements to be explicit, and have that be a thing. So that's for me for resonance and vibe. Anything else we would have for R or like just make it feeling correct?
I think, and this is something that I'm actually stealing a little bit from the world of musical theater writing. I think you need to show the juxtaposition between like monster hunters and humans. I think it's like, why is it important to have monster hunters in the first place? What makes them so like needed in the society? I think for vibe, any NPC that is a human, I think most NPCs should be humans, need to be like feeble and in danger. And, I think it needs to be like, oh, you need to feel needed at all times. And maybe like in a way that's like, it kind of pulls you in different directions from your main quest sometimes. I don't know. I just thought that was really interesting about even watching the little recap that I did. Like, oh, like there are so many, like there were so many aspects where it's like, this monster hunter's doing this because like their mom is sick, who is human, and like can't really take care of themselves, or like, oh, like something happened to my brother, and it's like, oh, there are all these humans around that like can't fight for themselves, and they're like trying to shoot monsters, but they can't do anything, so we have to step in. And it's like,
right,
it just seems like showing that dichotomy and making it like, oh no, monsters are a threat, but also like we are important, is like both of those things I think can be expressed if the humanity of everyone else is like on display as far as vibes go, you know?
Right. Yeah. Okay. So I think that's correct too. Like that makes a lot of sense to me in terms of like your characters are going to start at like epic level 6 or 3 or level 3 or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And like that's great. They have magic. They have all the regular D&D conventions. It's totally fine. For me to take this over the top, there's two things that are missing. Is one, Solo Leveling has really powerful, amazing combat scenes. Like the thing that I like about it is the visuals, right?
Yeah.
I don't love everything about it, but the visuals incredible. I've read the web novel some. I've watched the anime. There's incredible visuals, right?
Yeah.
And we need some like cinematic combat, and D&D is not the greatest for cinematic combat at its core. Like you would need to embrace rule of cool a little bit more, while still keeping it sort of like grounded because it's a lit RPG. I would really like it for me if what are the monsters an allegory for? And if you're not familiar with the word allegory, it just means like these monsters represent some other larger concept, right? Because there's some subtle themes in Solo Leveling. I mean, but honestly, it's mostly about slash really cool, pretty, right? And this guy this bum levels up to being the greatest, right? And like people like that stuff. I would be really excited if we were all like, hey, this is a metaphor for blank, right? Monsters are a metaphor for blank. And because you already have some themes. Like whenever you have superpowers or some ability and like, oh, just when you reach a certain age, when it's usually like teenagehood or adulthood, suddenly you gain these powers and you can enter the world of special powers and fighting. And like, what a metaphor for adulthood or puberty, you know? Like those types of things are often metaphors there. So I would love for monsters to have a concept. What do you think the allegory should be for our monsters in this universe, where the guy can solo level himself and the party's over here like trying to figure out why what do monsters represent?
You're asking me this question as a writer who is so into like making metaphors out of like making like global metaphors out of things that don't need a metaphor.
Yeah.
So my brain immediately is like, oh, it could be about like it could be like social commentary. It could be about like social justice. It could be about, and I'm like, Taylor, calm down. So like my initial thought is like, oh, it would be like really interesting because it could be about like who gets power and who doesn't, who gets opportunity and who doesn't, and like the monsters being, I don't know, like the things that we fight against in our lives. Like this is getting so emotional. But like it's super like allegorical, like you were saying. But like the monsters could be like the things we fight against in our lives. That like it's like people who feel like they stay static in life, and heroes who feel like, you know, this is the way they were told things are going to be and there's no room for change. But even though he may be a bad guy, or an antagonist, he figured out how like, no, you can like actually fight against these things and change and grow and find more opportunity in life and be better. And maybe that is like frowned upon in this society, but like it might be the new way of things, you know? I don't know.
Okay, so I what I'm hearing from you is that the monsters sort of represent fate, or like the evil, like, you know, like I mean, and like of course, like, oh, genius, guys, monsters represent evil, but like in the way of like, when I say evil, I mean like life is trying to beat you down, right? And it's just sort of implied whenever you read anything like this, but I think you can kind of make it extra specific of like, hey, like the monster killed your brother, right? And the character's brother. It's like, okay, well, that's a representation of this person getting like a disease or dying too young, right? And that's like an evil, like that's a thing that's like, man, that shouldn't be that way, right? And another person like was like, parents were fought monsters and stuff and were so focused on fighting monsters that they like weren't around for their kid, right? And it's like, okay, well, that's a metaphor for parents who are too focused on their jobs or careers or whatever, right? Monsters are attacking these areas and these people don't have enough resources to fight them, so they're you know, whatever. And these all represent like societal ills and evils and things like that. And that means they're really flexible, but they kind of represent those things. And yes, then the initial antagonist is able to have figured out that everyone in the world is like, I don't think we can fight against the evil or the societal ills. It's too much. And the initial antagonist who's looked down upon is actually someone who's figured out how to, I don't know, hope in some ways, or have change.
Yeah.
I know you don't like hope core, but you just did it. You did
Hope
it yourself.
core,
You have become your own worst enemy. You have made it.
We're here. I'm the antagonist of this story.
Yeah, you are the antagonist. Any weird stuff or extra froth just for us?
I think something that would be really cool that you brought up earlier when it came to bringing an experience instead of like milestones or just milestones would be like, it would be fun to like do something that your new system, Kyle, 0 Day, does very well, which is XP streaks. That was something I immediately thought of when I thought of like, oh, I wonder if this is a fun way to introduce leveling for these characters, is to like, oh, you have an XP bar, and like you do in your system where like everybody rolls and everybody gains XP, but when you hit a certain like mark of like, oh, you hit a streak of successes, right? And every time you get a success, you gain extra XP. And when you hit 3 successes in a row, like everybody at the table gains XP. And in your system 0 Day, that's like something that I really love. And I think that's something that could lend itself to a system like this or to a game like this.
Yeah.
Is like gaining experience becomes a shared thing for everybody, becomes a shared experience for everybody at the table,
Yeah. I mean, and to expound upon that, yeah, I mean, like, shameless plug for our system here that I'm working on, and Taylor's helping me play test.
It's a system so good.
It's a system we're coming out with that's designed to do IPs like Solo Leveling, like Tron, which is another video we're gonna be releasing. But it's designed to do stuff like that because the cinematic combat is not something that D&D does great, right? You need to embrace the rule of cool. The system that I'm designing is designed to solve that problem specifically, and then also to make leveling up at the table not just be the GM says you level up, but it's a group experience in a like even more powerful way. So yeah, like if everybody at a certain point, if a certain group of people at the table start having success and they have succeeded enough, everybody benefits. So everybody's rooting for everybody else to continually succeed, because then you all level up faster. And that's the cool part about the system for sure. The other part, of course, is I was inspired by stuff like Avatar: The Last Airbender and animes and all these other and superpowers and superheroes, like and then stuff like Solo Leveling. The cinematic combat piece allows, like, it's very simple, but allows for epic confrontations. And so that's really cool. How do I apply that to D&D if you're just going to run that and you want to try it in your own system or in your own campaign without looking up all the details of learning a brand new book, which, you don't have to, like, but I'd recommend it. I think it's kind of cool. But would be embracing the rule of cool and potentially giving people some, like, abilities or class features or spells that are more like common, or like giving people free spell slots or allowing them to use abilities more, right? Because the fighter only gets like 1 action surge or 2 action surges. Like, you may consider having them let them do it more often, like earning the ability to get more when they slay enemies or things like that, because the anime stare down of like, yeah, you think you've beaten me? Well, guess what? I'm going to use action surge 6 times, attack 20 times, and you're going to die. Like, that's what you want. You want those cool epic moments, and that's hard to pull off in D&D because it's a little bit more regimented. And or sometimes it's just like, okay, well, fireball, problem solved. So I think I would consider like letting people use some magic more often, or the things like that. I mean, how would you solve for that rule of cool wise as well, for like trying to like create these epic battles within D&D's system, like in a more visual cinematic sort of way?
I think you kind of already, to me, you've already said it. I don't know. I wouldn't say anything different than what you said, but yeah, I think it's about focusing on role play. It's about focusing on like less mechanic play, like using less mechanics and like really tightening it up. I mean, that's why people do what's it called, theater of the mind so often, because it makes combat more cinematic. It makes combat more fun if we don't have to sit there and like count how many squares every time, especially if you're gonna be level 6. Combat's gonna take 3 years, so it's like you don't have to focus on how many squares and the distance between things. Something that I've done in D&D games in the past is I've gone, hey, everybody starts at a specific distance away, and there are 5 distances. You're either distant, very far, close, engaged, and I'm like, all of these are like increments of 30 or like increments of 60. Like, live your life. And each turn, if you want to move, you just move one category away, one category closer.
Right.
And that's like bringing in mechanics so people don't feel like they're useless, but also like not, so people can still play theater of the mind. Like it really doesn't matter, but I think role play is like the most important thing when it comes to cinematic combat.
Yeah, definitely embracing rule of cool and letting people do some stuff would be pretty important. And I would also say, for the record, if you're really trying to imitate Solo Leveling, consider and looking back at like the 3.5 edition for extra spells and extra stuff, especially around necromancy, because if someone wants to be in Solo Leveling world, like, you may or may not want to give them a bunch of necromancy spells, because that's just how Solo Leveling, like, that's the main protagonist gets a lot of that sort of stuff. So look into those and see a bunch of spells that are options that feel cool and powerful and cinematic that people can use. We talked about Solo Leveling, and we talked about what makes it. What are some essentials? So essentials would be, it's got to be interesting monsters. You may want to promote their weaknesses or give them some diversification. Making sure that not everyone can level up, and starting at a higher position in the level up tree. So we recommended starting from level 3 to 6. And also, our plot was, we recommended that the characters, the party starts at like level 3 to 6, and no one else can level up. And neither they can't level up either. And they meet someone who can, and they can figure out how to level up throughout the process. And then making it have the right feel, the right vibe, and also some extra froth for us, we said, hey, let's get monsters and have them be a metaphor for societal ills and like things that are going wrong in the world, and also to potentially screw around a little bit with the mechanics. So like give extra spells or powerful spells, or let people cast more magic or use more action surges, and also lean into role play and consider like theater of the mind in order to get more epic combat out there. The final thing was to simplify leveling, so you don't need to track experience, but you actually do track milestones in like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 increments, or just make it a lot simpler so that you can hand out rewards that are still plot based, but you're not like, players are not incentivized to go kill thousands of goblins in a row in order to level up. It's a plot point as opposed to something else in order to continue to do that. Of course, if you want a magic experience that way, you totally can. Check out 0 Day. We'll have a link in the show notes if you want to check out the pre-Kickstarter that we're launching. We're just trying to gather some community of people who want to test out our game. And play test it for us. You'll have to sign some agreements to make sure you're not going to steal our intellectual property. But other than that, you can just hang out, and you can hang out with us on there and chat about it and try the system and play it out. Because if you're trying to play something like Solo Leveling, we'd love to have you check out our system and see if that is a way that you'd like to try it, because it's built to do this. You can absolutely do the Solo Leveling vibes. And there's even like bonus stuff, like you gain abilities randomly. I have systems for that. There's ways that you level up randomly. I have systems for that. We have a lot of systems for cool things that can kind of happen in a video game adjacent world, like so. So I would love if you check that out. I'd also love if you liked and subscribed to our channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.
This is how we brew it.
Jurassic Park, How to Train Your Dragon, The Princess Bride, Inception, Matrix, Mad Max, Fury Road, John Wick, Ghostbusters, Pokemon, Hunger Games, 28 Days Later.
Thanks so much for watching our video. If you like what you saw, please like and subscribe to the channel. And we'd love to shout out our Patreon supporters. We have Matthew Matheny, who is our very first Patreon subscriber. Thanks so much for that. And our $5 Follower of the Compass tier supporters, Adorable Will and Fizz. Thanks so much for supporting us. So check out the Patreon, and see you in the next one.
Welcome to the final countdown to ReachConf 2025. You better be grabbing your tickets as soon as possible. For the gamers, the video game building has over 10 TV and console combination stations with Smash tourneys. VR folks are going to have a Beat Saber tourney. There's going to be PC and game demos, arcade machines that are all free to play, a retro arcade, and an optional bring your own computer PC LAN for the PC folks. For the tabletop gamers, there's going to be a 50-person mega Dungeons & Dragons one-shot. Lots of tabletop space for all of the board games, and there's going to be room for the trading card gamers. If you want to bring your Magic cards, bring your Pokemon cards, battle it out, let's go. We're calling all the cosplayers in the group also. There's going to be a 360-degree photo shoot, a daily team shoot, and daily winners. And beyond that, there's going to be awesome game shows that the audience can be called in to win real prizes, content creator training events, industry talks, and more. So make sure you get your tickets to ReachConf 2025 today.